And then they went global with their empires more and more, and the idea is to have a global empire so that they dictate to everyone from a central point through the prison without the bars, trying as much as possible to persuade people they're free so they won't rebel against the fact that they're not. And the way it works, you can symbolize it as a pyramid or you can symbolize it as a spider's web. The spider is in the center. You don't see the spider. It doesn't put itself on public display. And the web is made up of secret societies which at the top level, not the lower ones, who are just, again, fodder. God, fodder, I got it out this time. Fodder. At the top level, they interconnect. And for instance, people talk about something called the Bilderberg Group, which is starting to get a lot of publicity because it's a center of manipulation. The Bilderberg Group's nowhere near the spider. The real secretive groups, the ones with the real power that really operate in the shadows, they're the ones you find around the spider. And then eventually you start coming out until you meet organizations that people have heard of and interact with daily society. This is how it works. And down the spider's web comes the agenda, and it's introduced by people well away from the spider who probably don't even know the spider exists either. So if you can see someone like a Bush or a Blair, you can see them in daily life, they're nowhere near the center or the top of the Illuminati. And like I say, you can symbolize it like this. All the way through, they have been imposing this structure on society as they've got more and more power as they've passed through history. The few at the top, they have the real picture, the real knowledge, and everyone else is compartmentalized, only knowing as much as it takes to do their job. And these different organizations in society, at the level that we experience them, appear to be completely unconnected. But because it's like pyramids within pyramids, like Russian dolls, one doll inside a bigger doll inside a bigger doll, eventually they are encompassed by the global pyramid. And from that point, the same agenda is dictated through all these apparently here unconnected organizations. And this is how you find the same things being introduced in countries all over the world, sometimes even with the same wording. This is how we've had this situation where we've had the incessant centralization of power in all areas of our lives: media ownership, banking ownership, corporations, governments, with the European Union becoming a dictator to all the countries below it. Centralization of power for a simple reason. If you are the few and you want to control the many, you have to centralize decision-making. The more diversity of decision-making there is, the less control you're going to have over it. It's like having loads of plates spinning on sticks on a stage. If you've got too many, eventually they're going to start crashing. You want one big plate, one big stick, and you can control that from a central point, no problem. That's why we have seen this incessant centralization of power in the world, because every time it's happened, fewer have control over even more. This is the structure that they're moving towards. They want a situation, and they already have it up to a large level, they want a global completion of it, where this hidden hand is controlling, in our experience, apparently not only unconnected people and organizations, but people and organizations who are, in our perspective, at war with each other or in conflict with each other. Because this is the movie. This is the movie that we see. Oh, have you seen the news? They've just invaded so-and-so now. Oh, yeah, that's the movie. And if we can just lift our minds to see that just because the leaders of that side and the leaders of that side seem to be in conflict, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not actually on the same side. Because they're not fighting the wars they create, they're fighting the wars that they create. And the reason why they do that and engineer wars will become clear this afternoon. But this is the hidden hand that you never see, that controls the Blairs and the Bushes, the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye as it calls itself. Now, the Illuminati Secret Society network, this has come out of Babylon. It goes back further, but Babadan's a really good point where you can pick it up. And it's traveled through history, getting bigger and bigger, carrying the knowledge of that global society, which was far more advanced than ever we perceive it could have been, carrying this structure of control through history, the same as the structure of control in the Freemasons, the different levels of degree where the people in the higher degrees know what the lower degrees don't know. As I say, it goes back a vast amount of time. This is a book, The Children of Mu, or also known as Lemuria. It's an alleged ancient land which went down in cataclysms, much like the story of Atlantis. And this guy James Churchward, travelled in the last century to many, many places, trying to uncover evidence of the existence of this great continent called Mu, or Lemuria as it later became known. And he said that in isolated monasteries and such like in Asia, he was shown tablets and accounts that were supposed to go back tens of thousands of years. And these are some of the symbols that were in those accounts and on those tablets. This, of course, is the swastika. The Germans didn't, or the Nazis didn't just invent the swastika because it was, a nice symbol. It's because it symbolized something. And they wanted to use it because they had access to this advanced knowledge of how you can manipulate the mind and what have you, without people realizing it. And the symbolism speaks to us. We may not realize it does, but it does, and they know it does. Here's the Maltese cross, which is the symbol to this day of a secret society called the Knights of Malta, that were once known as the Knights Hospitaller of St. John of Jerusalem. They go back like 1,000 years. And they have among their number today some of the most famous and apparently powerful people in the world. Reagan, for instance, was a Knight of Malta. And there's this symbol as well here, which will, on the left here, which will, left to me, or left to you actually, I'm turning around, aren't I? Which we'll come to shortly. But these symbols have passed through history, and you find them in the secret societies today. The Maltese cross, like I say, of the Knights of Malta, is still their symbol to this day. Now, to give you an idea of how these secret societies pass through history and manipulated events, we can pick up around the time of the Crusades, when a number of knights organizations were created, which, like I say, are still going today and have among their number these top people in global politics, business, banking, media, etc. One of them was the Knights Templar, who still today are vastly, vastly influential in the City of London and further afield, but the City of London and so-called the area of the Temple, and that church, and the legal profession. I had a friend years ago who was married to a very, very high barrister, legal type in the City of London, the Temple area. And they were getting on great until she found out he was involved with the Knights Templar at a serious level. And from that moment on, he tried to destroy her life and destroy her out of nothing, just because she discovered that he was involved in this organization. Very, very simple thing. If you're going to control the people on this five sense level, you need to control their access to money. You need to control the fact that they have to borrow money that doesn't exist from you and then pay you interest on it. Yeah? People go to a bank, they think they're borrowing money. They're borrowing. Can I borrow £50,000? You go, what you want? £50,000? Is that all right? What's that? £50,000 on the screen. You going to move any money anywhere? Any precious metals? No, it's done. You now pay us interest on this £50,000 until you pay it back. And if you don't pay it back, then we come and get your house that does exist because you haven't paid us back this. Okay, great. That's great. I love it. So you have to control. You have to control people's access to money, but also you have to control the law, which you then can impose and tie the people up in. So that's one of the major reasons they really want to control the law. And the law is very different to the way we're told it is.